when we get answers, if you use the reactions button to put up your hand. Alistair, I really have handed over to you. It's your show today.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ken. Okay, welcome everyone. If you're not sure what you're here for, we're going to talk about membership. All different aspects of membership, and really the important thing, how do we get more members, and hopefully how we stop the leakage of members that exists at the moment. As Ken said, if we have any questions or comments, please feel free to stick them in the chat. Hopefully Ken will monitor those, and anything interesting that needs to be brought up, he can bring that forward. But hopefully this session will kind of arm us with some new ideas and tools to help us recruit people. That's what this is all about. I also want to show some indications of good practice in public image, and how to overcome the barriers to membership, because every club in its own way has some barriers to membership. And finally, we'll go on and we'll talk about the membership plan and member retention. And I've got to thank Celia for this, because she's brought retention really to the fore in my mind, and it's something we really have to look at in an awful lot more detail in the future. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen, hopefully. Now, can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, everyone's fine. Okay, so I've titled this session Membership in Rotary. Getting new members is easier than you think. This is session 1, and sorry, session 1 is going to be about 2 things: 10 tips to grow in your club, and then barriers to membership. So we'll start off with the 10 tips to grow in your club, and I'm not ashamed to say that this part of it is stolen from District 7390 in the USA, in the Philadelphia area. Something that they've done, and they've found a great deal of success for it. So tip number 1, fairly obvious: make membership your club's top priority. Now, by that I don't mean that every meeting has to be about membership. What I mean is that everything you do should have a membership element to it. Every project that you do, hopefully you'll be able to include some sort of membership element. But create a goal and share it with your members. Make sure you have a membership champion in your club, better still a whole team. Try and discuss membership at your meetings every week. It is the most important thing we have at the moment. Number 2, I'd like every club to create a list of all the great things in your club. Every single club out there does some fantastic work. They really do, and we've got to write that down and share it, because so many new members coming in don't know about half of the work that we do. But write it down, share it with your members, and celebrate the good things that you do. Be proud of it. And what I've said here is everybody in your club should be able to brag. Learn to boast about it. Now, I don't know why that's so much of a problem when we're speaking to the public, because you come onto one of these meetings and people are always dead keen to tell everybody else about what their club's doing. Everyone always comes onto these meetings and chats about, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're doing this, we've raised this. But let's get that out to the public. Learn to brag. And I've said at the bottom here, make sure all of the great things that you do, and only the great things, are on social media. Don't waste your time on social media with the mundane stuff. Stick to the good work that you do. Number 3, I don't know how many clubs do this, but create and keep a list of potential members. So get your existing members to write down the names of potential members in a book, record them, and look at that book from time to time and decide how and who's going to approach these targets. Every interaction that you have with the public, every thing that you do with Rota Kids, you know, the parents of Rota Kids, the parents of Interact, All of these people are all potential members, but we need to record them and methodically find some way to approach them. Don't leave anyone out. Make sure that everyone goes on that list. Be willing to change. And this is the important one, because what I've said here, we've always done it that way. That was one of the first things I heard when I joined Rotary. And I sat in on a council meeting. I was invited to a council meeting. And one of the elder statesmen of the club, his answer was, we've always done it that way. But just ask the question, why? If it is something you've always done that way, why? Don't be afraid to try something new. If what you try doesn't work, let it go. It's no big deal. But if it does work, keep it in, develop it, use it. The Council on Legislation back in 2016, the body that makes up the rules for Rotary, said, if you can think it, then do it. And that's pretty much when my year as district governor, that was the message I was given to clubs. Don't worry about whether that's allowed or not, just get on with it and do it. Look to younger Rotarians for fresh ideas, and this is something I'm fairly passionate about. I think the most important person in every club is the youngest person or the newest person, because they're the ones that are going to take the club forward. They're the ones that are going to come in with the fresh ideas. And really, we should be looking to the younger members, the newer members, to get involved in the decision making and encourage them, support them, offer advice, but really give them their head, let them get on with it. Something that happened in my own club, and I've probably told this story a few times in the past, but I was approached by some of the younger members, or they approached the club rather, and said, we want to put on a charity evening, and it's going to be a tribute act. And I said, right, okay. And they said, well, what we'd like to do is we'd like to spend £2,000 putting this tribute act on. And as a fairly new club at the time, we didn't have fortunes to waste on things like that, and I was very wary of it. But they got their own way, and they got the chance to do it, and they made a fantastic job of that night. And we ended up raising £3,000–4,000 out of it. But that was all down to the younger members of the club pushing an idea forward and us, allowing that to happen. Talk about Rotary wherever you go. It gets back to this, everybody should be able to brag. As I say, listen to the normal Zoom meeting, but also you've got to know what your club does in the community. Be able to chat about it, be able to brag about it to people. And be on the lookout for people with a heart for service, people who would, seem to be that kind of public spirited type of person, because they should be Rotarians. And the last two bits at the end here, I think are probably one of the biggest takeaways from today, hopefully, is that don't bother asking people to join. Tell them, say, you should be in Rotary. It's an awful lot easier than saying, would you like to join, or would you like to come to a meeting? It's just very straightforward. You should be in Rotary, or why aren't you in Rotary? Because if you've identified that person as someone who would be a good fit for your club, then go for it. They should be in Rotary. Number 7, have a clear list of members' responsibilities. I think very often potential members want to know where they'll fit into your club and how they can start to make a difference very quickly. People join Rotary now to give service. They join to make a difference. And they want to know fairly early on how they're going to be able to do that. They want to know what's going to be expected of them. And it's very important. I mean, I remember joining Rotary. I was very fortunate when I joined. I was involved in a fairly big project very early on in the process. But I know of members who've joined clubs and it's been 4 or 5 years before they've really been given anything worthwhile to get involved with. So make sure that there's a list of what you're expecting from them and how they're going to fit in to your club. Number 8, celebrate when you get a new member. Have a cake, have some balloons, but really celebrate a new member. Make it a very special occasion. And also think about your induction ceremony. Probably an awful lot of you out there are using the same script that's been used since 1957 or whenever your club was chartered. You'll be churning out the same very serious stuff. It doesn't have to be like that. Make the induction ceremony fun, make it vibrant. Take the seriousness away from it. Make the new member feel very special. And of course, if you want to change it up, you're free to do that. There's nothing at all in the rules that say that someone has to be inducted in a particular way. Number 9, diversity. And again, this has been one of my big things for a number of years now, but we have to increase the diversity in our clubs. And that's not just male and female. I mean, we have managed, I think we've got a 2% increase this year in the female to male. I think we're up to about 21% now from 19% last year, which is still slightly better, I think, than the UK average, but we're still not great as far as our balance goes, as far as race and things like that are concerned. But we are, as it says here, we're a non-political, non-racial, non-religious, non-gender specific organisation. Let's take advantage of that, embrace it, and bring in anyone that really has a heart for service in your community. And finally, number 10, emphasise the service. That's the bit that's important to the millennials. That's the bit that's important to the younger people who might want to join Rotary. They want to give service. They join because they see a club that is giving service in your community. Have projects instead of meetings. We get far too hung up on the meetings and meals. Let's reduce the importance of those, but instead increase the importance of our projects. Maybe start once a month and say, okay, we're not going to have a meal, we're going to meet up and do some sort of project activity, whether that be a wee environmental thing or something like that. But emphasise the service part of it. Look to other areas, other clubs, for what can be done. Chat to other people and find out what it is other clubs are getting involved with, because there's some great ideas out there. Talk to people in your local area, and this is probably the most important thing, your local council, community council, churches, community groups, welfare services. Find out what they need in your area. Find out where the gaps are in your area, because there always are some. So, just to summarise, make membership your club's #1 priority. Create a list and publicise that list of all the things that your club does. Create a list of potential members. Be flexible, be willing to change. Give younger, newer Rotarians their head. Let them come forward with ideas and let them run with those ideas. Talk about Rotary wherever you go. Make a list of members' responsibilities so that new members know what they're buying into, they know what they're coming into, and they know how they're going to fit in to the bigger club. Celebrate like mad when you get a new member. We have to embrace diversity. We have to continue to look to be as diverse as we possibly can. And finally, emphasise the service. That's what we're all about at the end of the day. We give service in different areas, and we have to really emphasise that. So, if we go back to number 4 from that last one, it said, be willing to change. And part of change is about eliminating the barriers. And to eliminate the barriers, clubs are going to have to change. So what are your club's barriers to membership, and can you eliminate them? Let's look at this. This is a wall. This is the wall. This is the barriers to membership. And let's see. I'm not saying this is all of them, but this is the first sort of 17 that came to mind. First one is cost. Now, I think more and more when I'm speaking to district or multi-district groups and speaking to my colleagues in other areas, the cost of Rotary is something that is coming up more and more often. And it's something that really, unfortunately, we're not in control of, but we have to find some way of making that cost more acceptable to people. And that may be that we have to really seriously think about whether we need to be having a meal every single week, because that is a cost. Whether people can possibly come along and not have the meal. We have to look at whether we can spread the cost of Rotary. How can we do that? How can we take the cost of Rotary and break it down and say, okay, it's going to be £10 a month or £30 a quarter, but just breaking it down to an affordable level. It's basically the cost of Rotary is £1.50 a week. And we need to get as close to that as we possibly can. So we get rid of the cost. Location is something that only you're in control of as a club. But location is a big part of the cost part of things. It's a big part of how people view your club. A community club would tend to meet in their community, not in the best hotel in their community, but in their community. So think about your location. Think about what that location says about you as a club. Too busy to attend meetings. That's when we hear, I'm too busy to get involved. That's basically a smoke screen. That's someone saying that actually you've not really sold this to me yet. And if someone says they're too busy, find another way into that. Because actually the fact that you're talking to them means that they're a bit interested. They're interested in giving service. They maybe just don't want to come along to meetings. So is your club one of those that insists that people come to a certain number of meetings? Is your club there do you insist on a certain number of meetings attended? I know it used to be 60% and things like that, but we really have to think about, and people with a busy lifestyle, maybe I want to be able to dip in and dip out if they possibly can. So think about that. Children, is your club, is your venue quite happy to have children come along? Because I think, again, that's important. If we want to get the right people into Rotary, the right age of people into Rotary, we maybe have to accept that sometimes there's going to be a couple of kids at the meeting, or a dog, or whatever you want to bring along. But it's back to this flexibility again. We have to be able to accept these things. Don't make that a barrier. Someone says, well, I can't come that night because I can't get a babysitter for the kids. Bring the kids along with you. It's not a problem. We've got to be flexible enough to do that. Time of the meeting. Again, this is like time, location, all these sort of things. We spend too much time emphasising meetings. Yes, your meetings are important. Your meetings give us fellowship and they allow us to plan things. But they're not the be-all and end-all of Rotary. People don't join to attend meetings. They join to give their service, to give some of their time. So don't make a big deal out of, oh, we can't make a meeting at that time. Join Rotary anyway. Maybe look at doing an alternative. Maybe look at saying, okay, once a month we'll have a meeting on a Saturday morning in a cafe. and get people along to that instead. But we've got to remove that barrier as well. The next one, what is it? You'd be surprised how many people out there, you probably won't be surprised how many people out there, but there are a great number of people out there who just don't know what Rotary is. I tend to drop the club from it now and just say we're Rotary and we're a community group and we exist to help in the local community, you know, charities and whatnot. But it's important that we have this elevator pitch ready. We have to know that when we're speaking to people that we sometimes make the assumption that everyone knows what Rotary is. They don't. And we've got to be ready to deal with that. The next one is that they haven't been invited. So many people haven't joined Rotary because no one has ever said to them, would you like to come along? I think we forget that as well. So we have to make sure that we're speaking to as many people as possible and therefore inviting them along, saying to them, you know, you should be a Rotarian. Why aren't you a Rotarian? The next thing is expectations, and this is difficult because this is partly one of the main reasons why people leave Rotary. And that is that it doesn't meet their expectations. So when you're speaking to people, if they have expectations of what they want to do, make sure your club can fulfill that. Don't bring people in under false pretenses. They'll be there short term and you'll lose them again. So make sure your club can fulfill their expectations. Find out what they want to be doing when they get involved. Too formal. I think this probably doesn't apply to many clubs anymore. I think over the last few years that the message has got out there that, you know, no longer do we have to do the formality, but we still too often see people wearing chains at meetings and things like that. And it's really, that's not what is going to attract folk to Rotary. Very few people want to come in and see that. So the formality is something that we have to try and eliminate as much as possible from our meetings. No diversity, and this is a difficult one because it's like I think when Rotary first started to admit female members, and there was a feeling that, you know, just one female was going to be quite daunting for them to go into a club, and it would take a fairly special lady to go into an all-male environment and kick that off, and many did, and you know, good on them for doing that. But it's the same with all areas of diversity. If you don't see, my wife is a great one for saying if she goes visits another club, she wants to see someone in that club like her, wants to see someone that she can relate to. And it's the same, that's what diversity is. We you know, if someone's coming into a club, they want to feel, all right, okay, that there's another person with kids here, or there's another person of my background here, there's another person of my race here. So the diversity thing is a difficult one to get over, but we have to keep on working away at that one because it's very, very important. The next thing is a lack of mentoring, and hopefully again, clubs, as we've gone over the last few years, have become more and more aware of this. And I think an awful lot of clubs now do have very, very good mentoring schemes on the go for when a new member joins. But that mentoring should continue right up till the president of the club. You know, there should be people supporting everyone at every level. So mentoring's a big thing, but we have to keep on going at that. We're doing very well, but mentoring has to be kept up. Disabled access, very obviously here, again, going round over the years, I've visited a number of clubs where if I had turned up in a wheelchair, I wasn't getting in. And we have to think about that. We have to be able to say, even, I mean, we have a member in our club now, or a couple of members in our club now, who are walking with sticks or Zimmers or something like that, and too many stairs is going to put them off. They're not going to come to club meetings. So look at the access, think about your venue again, back to your location, and think about the disabled access side of things. Not interesting. And this is about your club programme. Clubs, most clubs, I think, at the start of the year, put together a programme for the year. And I remember in the past looking at my club programme for the year and thinking, well, I don't fancy that week very much, and that week's going to be a bit boring. Because clubs are still looking at their programme being speaker after speaker after speaker. And again, speakers are great to have from time to time, but don't just fill up your programme with whoever's willing to come along and talk to you, because often they are absolutely dreadful. So losing people's interest, having them come along to a meal and a speaker that has no relevance to them whatsoever, you're going to lose people if you keep on doing that. So you have to keep it interesting, keep it relevant, keep it current, and make sure you're not boring people to death. They must have a meal. We've kind of looked at that already, but the meal thing is for me not necessary anymore. If you want to do it, come along, have a meal, but have your meeting afterwards or before it, but don't make that part of the meeting. It's really not necessary, and we must get away from that expense, if nothing else, to new members. Next one is, I didn't know that Rotary wanted any new members. I've heard this 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, where I've gone to speak to someone, maybe at a gala or a market or something like that, and spoke to them about Rotary and spoke to them about membership in Rotary, and they're not aware that Rotary wants members. It's crazy. They don't know really that we're a membership organisation, and that's it, what we are. So we're obviously not communicating something properly there. We've got to get out to the public and let them know that, you know, there's an open door at our meetings and you're going to have to come in there because, you know, you should be a Rotarian. How many people do you know in your community that are doing great work, that would make great Rotarians? But they don't know because they're not sure, that they didn't think Rotary was open to them. They thought it was maybe a closed thing for businessmen in the area or something like that. So make sure that people are aware that actually Rotary is open to new members. Commitment is a big thing, and people often see, and I spoke earlier on about give people a list of what you expect from them, what their expectation is. It's difficult because at that point you run the chance of people saying that's too much commitment for me. So you have to balance that. You have to talk to people and say, okay, how much can you commit to? How much time are you willing to give? Because if you expect too much, rather than they just won't come back. Give them too much, they won't come back. So careful in balancing the commitment side of things, because it will put people off if they think that they're expected to do more than they feel able to. They just won't come back. And finally, what's in it for me? And that really is at the end of the day where we all come from. We all get something out of Rotary, whether that's friendship and fellowship, whether it's the service that we're able to give. It's maybe just meeting your pals on a Wednesday night for a meal and a blether. But there has to be something in it for someone to continue in Rotary. And we have to determine what that is, determine when we speak to someone what they want out of Rotary before we can tell them what's in it for them. But it's such an important part, because without that, really folk are not going to want to get involved. So that's the what's in it for me. So We'll have a quick 5-minute break. Allow everyone to refresh their water and tea and coffee and things. We'll come back in exactly 5 minutes and get on with the next part. Thanks very much.
Old, but the one with the unique foil tilt system was always just right. Suitable for all roof styles and an energy-saving product, cheaper than a new tiled roof, and with its 10-year insurance-back guarantee. Conservatory Insulations, helping you and your conservatory live happily ever after.
Seamus, you've got your hand up. Is there something you want to share?
Sorry, yeah, I was going to wait until everybody reconvenes.
Okay, that's fine.
No problem. Thank you.
Can't believe this lot are so quiet, Alistair.
Stunned into silence.
So, do you want questions or comments?
Well, just sure you can share your views till we restart again, Vince.
Right. I was just curious about everyone seems to think a meal is not necessary. And yet what I've noticed in the Cooper Club is that we really would like a meal at least once a month. Just face-to-face. It's a face-to-face thing. The continuity. We're quite an old club now. We've got not very many youngsters in it. And I think structure and a little bit of, that's how we used to do it. I'm not saying that's right, but a little bit of that is not a bad thing.
I think it really depends on, so there's two things in there. Some people in the club want a meal, and that's fine. But the big question is, what do your new members or newer members, the people you're going to recruit, want? And how do you create the option for that? And a lot of the chat in there has been creating the option where you have business first and then a meal, or vice versa. So it's what do new Rotarians want? And don't ask a current Rotarian. That's the wrong person.
Vince, one of the things this coming Monday, we're going to try just meeting for coffee and tray bakes. Our lady members have very kindly offered to make tray bakes, and just coffee and tray bakes and just having a chat. And we're going to try that. And if that works, we might make that a more regular thing. But we've got a community shed here, which is perfect for that. So we'll see how things work.
Yeah, we actually do. We meet in a little cafe of an afternoon, and it's great fun. But there's really no business conducted there except nice chat, fellowship.
Yeah. Well, we will have the room to ourselves. So
well, we don't have that. That's the
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
That's one of the issues we have in Cooper at the moment, is finding a stable place where we can have the room to ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, and that is an issue.
Mm-hmm. Big issue for us here.
Okay, folks, that's 5-6 minutes we've had. Let's get back onto it again. Seamus, did you want to say something before we get going?
Yeah, I assume that you're taking questions and comments about the presentation so far. Is that okay?
Yeah, fairly.
A couple of things. First of all, on the diversity, well, I should say to begin with, your presentation was excellent. Thank you very much. But on the diversity, you said that bringing someone into the room who can see someone else like them. Diversity is surely about bringing somebody into the room who is, you know, actually increases the diversity of the group. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. But that first person is the difficult one, Seamus. That's the barrier that we have to break.
Yeah.
And I just use that as an example because that's something that's been commented on to me in the past. That's very difficult when someone walks into a room and can't see someone like themselves to.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. The second point was on the issue of attendance. I mean, we've recently discussed this in our club, and we don't have an attendance requirement at all. But what I'm doing is I'm going to be going to local members, approaching them, not on the basis of, if you don't show up, we're going to send the boys round. It's more like, we miss you. What's the barrier to you coming to the meeting? Can we entice you back again? That type of conversation.
I think that's a great thing, Seamus, and it goes along with the retention side of things. Because if you just ignore those people, they'll just drop off at the end of the year. You'll lose them. but at least by making contact and trying to find out what you can do to bring them back into the fold again, I think is admirable. It's a fantastic way, and I wish more clubs would do it. I mean, my own club has been guilty of it in the past as well, not really chasing up members that fall away, and you do end up losing them. So that's great. Thank you.
And just while I'm speaking, can I give my apologies? I will have to leave early before the meeting's over. I've got another piece of business to attend to today.
Not a problem. Okay, we'll move on. I'm going to reshare the screen.
Kevin's got a question.
Oh, sorry.
Alistair, it's just following up from Seamus. Alloa Club has no attendance register either. And I think one of the things we need to remember when we're speaking to potential new starts is to highlight that there isn't the old style attendance requirements. Some of the best Rotarians we have are still working, can't get to meetings, but participate in a significant amount of projects, you know, and you don't ever see them at meetings on a weekly or fortnightly basis as we do it now, but you see them at every project, helping, involving, participating and doing projects by themselves. They don't necessarily need to attend a weekly meeting to make them good Rotarians. I think we should be highlighting that whenever we speak to a potential.
You're spot on, Kevin, and I think Kath put something in the chat just a wee while ago there, which said that you know, nominally we expect a 50% attendance. However, I think it was something like 12 hours of service in every 6 months equates to the same thing. So yeah, the service is interchangeable, and I think it's probably more important than the attendance at meetings. But yeah, you're spot on, Kevin. Okay, break is over. We have to move on next to Ada. And Ada is not my old auntie, and it's not an opera, but Ada is what has generally been considered the aims of advertising. And this section that we're going into now, session number 2, is about public image and membership. And what I wanted to start off by talking about was the aims of our public image. Public image is our advertising. And what is the aims of our advertising? And ADA stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. And this is how we should be looking at each of our submissions to the local newspaper, posts on Facebook, any sort of our social media interactions. We should be judging those based on this model. So the first thing it needs to do is it needs to grab attention. If you look at the kids nowadays going through their phone on Facebook, they're just flicking through. There's, you know, unless something really grabs their attention as they go past, they won't stop. So we need to make sure that whatever photograph you use, whatever graphic that you use there is going to grab that attention. People say, what is it about? The I is interest. So once you've got them to stop, once you've grabbed their attention, you've then got to basically get their interest. So the photograph needs to make them want, or the graphic needs to make them want to look into it a wee bit deeper, that they quite like what they've seen, they're interested. The next thing is desire. And that's probably the important part here, is when you've got their attention, you've got them interested, whatever they then read on your post has to create a desire. They have to say something. It has to say to them, oh, I'd like to donate to that, or I'd like to help with that, or I'd like to get involved with that. That looks like a lot of fun. So we've got to create that desire. And the final part is action. And there has to be, on every one of these posts that we produce, a call to action. And it's something we forget time and time and time again, is that we need an outcome from these posts. Now, that call to action may be contact us for more information. It may be click here to donate some money. It may be click here to find out more about Rotary. But there has to be an action at the end of it. We have to ask them to do something, because we've spent this effort getting their attention, grabbing their interest, building their desire for what that, and then we just let it go flat. We have to give them an end to that. So that's how ADA works. And we should really apply that to all of our public image. But to go a wee bit more into a wee bit more depth in public image, I'm going to ask Claire to come on now, and she will take over and go through some public image stuff with us. Thanks, Claire. Claire?
Apologies, I was muted. Some might think that's a good thing. Okay, good morning. My name is Claire, and today I'm going to chat to you about public image and the role and connection that it has to membership. So if we go to the first slide, Alistair. Public image is about how people who aren't in an organisation perceive us. Our club public image is the voice, tone and style in which we communicate Rotarian. It's how Rotary is perceived by the world. Why is that important? Well, Rotary's public image isn't just what we think of ourselves. We know the fabulous work that gets done by all our Rotary clubs all over the world. It's also what people outside of Rotary think of us. So could public image influence the people that come to our events or give donations? And does it perhaps have a significance to gaining new members? Does it have a hand in shaping what the community think of your club? And does it affect the long-term viability of Rotary in general? So if we look at who our social media is aimed at, essentially that is everyone. Our friends, our family, community organisations, other Rotarians, but mostly non-Rotarians. So potential members, partners. Public image can be massively influenced by social media. That's why it's so important nowadays. It's the cheapest and easiest way for us to advertise and tell Rotary's story. But those social media posts have to be done right. Otherwise, the public image of Rotary goes in the wrong direction, and your hard work within your clubs of portraying your club in a positive light may well be tainted. We need to ask ourselves, how do people who aren't involved in Rotary perceive us and our clubs through the social media posts? And what do those posts say about your club to the general public? If we go to the next slide, Alistair. Our public image is shaped by what people have heard or haven't heard, and this can lead to many misconceptions. In 2018, Rotary conducted a public image survey, and one of the questions asked was, what is Rotary? So I'd like to share some of the answers that were given, just to illustrate the inaccuracies. So the first one, a meeting of company presidents. A bunch of guys meeting, having lunch and singing. I have no idea. It's like a secret society. It's a non-profit with branches in main cities around the world. A telephone. An international club with vaccination programs. So, as you can see, if we as Rotarians are not telling Rotary's story and our club's story, then the public image will often be filled with half-truths, and this can be damaging. Knowing about Rotary isn't enough. Enhancing your club's public image will help your club stand out from all the other opportunities that members of your community have to donate, volunteer and get involved. Your club's interaction with the community greatly influences how people think about Rotary. And with that in mind, let's turn to images. It's the old saying of a picture tells 1,000 words. But when people are scrolling through social media, the pictures become even more important as they can immediately tell a story without people even needing to read the text. So these pictures need to be spot on. Now, I've included a couple of pictures and I use them quite often. Also, if we could go to the next slide, please. And the next one. So I use this quite often as an example of what not to post. The reason for this is that they don't give any insight into your club, its projects, its goals, its values. So this picture and the next one, that in itself, that picture isn't terribly bad, but the aim of the picture, as you can see, the information that may be gathered by the viewer is completely obscured by the people standing in front of it. If we could move to the next picture, Alistair. This, however, is a better picture for the point of view as it's an action picture. These photos illustrate something that's happening, where the focus of the photograph and the post is on the event and the people benefiting from the good work of the Rotarians in that club, but not actually the Rotarians themselves. I think this is very important. Alistair, could we go to the next one? Again, no Rotarians, just the kids who are benefiting from the work of Rotary. The next one, Alistair. Again, forefront of the picture, kids out, it's the kids who are benefiting, and it's about the people involved in the activity and not the Rotarians. Next. So what did these pictures say about the clubs? Were they necessary? Were they informative? Did it look like fun? And who were the most important people in those pictures? As a non-Rotarian, would they encourage you to join or get involved? I would urge everyone to just think, make your public image a conscious one. Next, Alistair. So telling Rotary's story is the way you talk about Rotary, and especially your club, shapes the public's perception of who we are, what we do and why we do it. A strong public image ensures that people know that we're people of action, driven by a desire to create opportunities, strengthen our society and find solutions to the tough challenges that affect the world. So, after hearing stories about your club's good work, members of your community may be inspired to learn more and support you by volunteering, donating or even joining your club. As Rotarians, you have a hands-on experience of Rotary and you're in the best position to raise awareness and understanding of your club and Rotary in general. Your club's interaction with the community greatly influences how people think about Rotary and greatly influences their decision to join your club. Next, Alistair. Your club's image. When your club has a positive public image, current members will be motivated and active and prospective members will be eager to join. Work with your membership committee, your entire club, to discuss whether any aspects of your club may deter potential members and create a strategy to overcome these. Once you've made your club open and attractive, then think about which forms of media are most likely to attract your prospective members. Remember, personal introduction or invitation is still the way most people join Rotary. If you're enthusiastic and positive about your club, then tell people it's still the best way to get new members. Refresh your club image. Decide how to brand your club. Keep the following in mind. Be sure that your communications accurately represent the club experience. I know Alistair talked about this a bit earlier. Ensure the meetings live up to the expectations that you have set. A vibrant club image won't boost membership if it really doesn't reflect reality. Remind your members, apologies, that they represent your club in everything they do, inside and outside. It all contributes to your club image. Update your social media pages, club website, blog, etc. to be more appealing. Make sure your contact information is easy to find. This is really quite important, and it's what we do that matters. So going back to the previous pictures, it's action pictures. It's showing to potential members what you're actually doing. So are your club activities attractive to your potential members? What do the public in your area see as important? And if you don't know the answer to that, just ask them. Also, it's crucial that your public image shows your members being active in your community and giving service. Remember Alistair's AIDA? Get the attention, get the interest, and get what's going on. Create a desire to be involved, get new members. And finally, this last slide, happy to share it and send it to you if you want. So it's 10 ways to get more likes and shares on your social media. And the first one is create shareable content. So what I mean by that is content that people can buy into. You know, things that are around helping school, where you are your posts around things that tug on the heartstrings, things that are important to your community, where mum, dad, granddad, aunties, uncles can share and share and share, and it's what's called shareable content. But it allows them to buy into your values. Keep your posts short. People have quite a short attention span, and they really they won't spend a lot of time reading through a big screed of information. So keep it short and snappy. Number 3, comment on other pages. So community boards, we have a lot in our area, a lot on Facebook certainly, where if you have various things going on, just post them to community boards, public pages, anything that could be potentially could interest the people within your community. Create an effective profile picture and a cover story. So, and change it regularly, I would say. So having the rotary wheel is great, but you can change that to some of the pictures of, you know, your successful gala day, or your kids out, or whatever it is, something that's a wee bit more fun to look at and more informative of the type of club that you are. Run contests. A bit self-explanatory, but you know, if you have an event coming up, run contests where people can, you know, win a hamper, win tickets, and follow that up by posting about who has won, you know, video going to the door and giving them their tickets, etc. It just, once again, ties into the shareable content, because people are invested in the story. Or I could maybe have won this. Who actually did win it? You know, it's all about you. As Alistair said way back at the start, don't be afraid to brag. You know, your page is all about your club, so make it so that you're bragging and it's all about you, and people know what your club is about. It's your identity and it's yours to shape. Hop on trending topics early. So if you see things that, I think a year or so ago, when there was the ice bucket challenge, or you know, similar things like that. But it just makes everything a wee bit more current, and it shows your club to be a wee bit more relevant to the younger generation. and shows a bit of fun side, I suppose, to Rotary. This bit's a bit self-explanatory, but it needs to be said. Add your Facebook page to your club posters, leaflets, cards, you know, just so that you're branded at all times, really. And there should be no excuse for people not being able to follow up to get a hold of you should they want to get involved or donate or whatever. And 9 and 10 kind of tie into each other. So get user social proof. So user social proof is where you get a positive recommendation. The positive influence that's generated when people find out about a good experience that someone has had of your organisation that isn't within your organisation. So an example might be praise on social media, a thanks or a shout out on someone else's page on another organisation's page. And that's hugely important because it means that effectively for testimonials, that people, we can all say that Rotary is great because we're invested in the story, we're invested in our clubs. But when other people give a positive feedback of our clubs, it means more to people. So if you can get the wee mini, someone who has been influenced or touched by something that your club has done, whether it's been a donation, whether it's been you have fixed a garden, painted or planted stuff, anything that's going to give you a positive feedback and a wee mini video, it carries so much more weight when it comes from someone out with your organisation. But it's also great to share as well and ties in with the shareable content. So that's my bit finished. Alistair?
Thank you very much, Claire. We're going to go to a quick break now. Does anyone have any quick questions for Claire? I know she's got to shoot off fairly soon, but are there any questions for Claire before we just have a quick break?
There's no one got their hand up at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire.
No problem.
We'll take till about 11:10, guys, just to have a quick break, and then we'll go on with the final session. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure, but I think that was you getting your instructions from the sidelines, Alistair. We could just see an arm moving in and out of the picture.
Yes, the club's doing a gala today at Methil, and I was down there at 8:30 this morning to set everything up, and that's Claire going away back down now to do the rest of it. So
I just hope that was your wife, Alistair.
What was the last time I looked yet?
Yeah, I'm a bit like you, Alistair. I have to apologise. I'm looking very formal this morning, but we were setting up a stall this morning. One of our members is doing the kilt walk, set up a Rotary stall. He's actually raising money for the Anstruther lifeboat station.
Oh. We're doing it's Methil Gala today, but we're raising money for. There's a wee kid in the local area we donated to last year, but he had a brain tumour, but he's now terminal, and we're trying to fundraise to give him some experiences before he passes away. So everything we're doing today is raising money for that.
Excellent.
But it's interesting. I think that the Facebook thing is quite enlightening, and the likes and shares sort of thing. I mean, we've had posts based on Claire's way of doing the shareable content. We've had posts in the past that have had reaches of 17, 18, 20,000 people, which in this area is just incredible numbers, but all based on this theory of shareable content. And I mean, I think we only have some like 1.1 or 1.2k likes on our page, so it's not exactly, we're not exactly a massive page, but it's amazing how it all multiplies up if you start to use that shareable content.
Just we've been making greater use of QR codes, you know, as a link to the Facebook page. There's a kind of curiosity value, I think, in having the QR code on a poster.
Yeah.
And it just makes things so much easier to access Facebook pages or whatever.
I don't know how successful that is, Mike. We've tried it, but I've never. I think we really need to do a wee bit more investigation into how many people are actually using it and whether it's of any interest to folk or not.
Yeah.
The QR codes at Alloa are working quite well. So of the Sway pages we've got them, we've actually got a QR code on the park bench we put up for polio. So it's not just sending people directly to the web page, but we get the analytics off the back end of it as well.
That's good.
So we can see if the people are coming from the UK, if they come from overseas, because it would imply some. We actually even had some Americans in Alloa last week. You know, we spotted them. So it's interesting to see where people are actually coming to over the piece.
And are you using different QR codes to direct them to different things, John?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a website called Bitly, bit.ly, and I'll do another mention about it as well. That further up the chat, I mentioned about the Sway page, and there's a how to Sway, and in there's some information about how to set up QR codes. So there's a little trick that if you're creating material, you can have a QR code. When you scan it, it instantly tells you here's your contact information, for example, or the directly to the web page. But if you're using a bit.ly code to shorten that big long URL right down, it means that you can then actually project it onto a wall. You can see it from a distance. It makes it much easier for consumers to see it. So you can bring a conference hall and instantly scan that QR code, and that gives you extra analytics for free.
That would be useful to find out more about that. That sounds really useful.
It's on that second link I posted earlier about how to Sway. I'll push it back up in a second for you.
Thanks, John. Okay, that's us ready to go with the final session.
Can I add something in about the QR code? Alloa's got these business cards that we give out at everywhere we go. On the back of them, we have the QR code that if anybody's interested later on when they take it home, they can check in to the Rotary Club of Alloa.
Good. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, folks, on to the final session. Thanks to everyone who stayed. It looks like we've only lost one person, so that's pretty good. Thanks to everyone who stayed on this long. And for the final session, I want to talk about the membership plan, the foolproof way to get new members, and then chat finally about retention. So, you want from training ideas and tools, not facts and figures, but actually physical things that you can use to go out there and get new members. And hopefully what we've done so far today has given you some ideas and some strategies and ways to hopefully boost your membership. But tool number one, really the important one is we have to have a membership plan. It's probably the single most important thing. The old saying, you know, fail to plan, plan to fail. We really need to have your membership champion in your club or your membership team in your club sit down and devise a plan. And any plan is better than no plan at all. I would suggest that that plan should revolve around the 5 P's of membership: price, place, people, product, and promotion. Now, price we've spoken about already, making it affordable to people, being able to spread the cost of Rotary. The place, we've spoken already about the location and meals and that sort of thing. The people are important because they're the ones in your club. They're the people who are going to create a welcoming environment for a new member. And the crucial ones, the product and the promotion. The product is what your club is doing. It's the way your club has its programme set out. Promotion is your public image, and we've already spoken great length about public image. So, as I said here, public image, make sure it's as good as you can make it. Fairly obviously, good public image is a good tool. And it is. Public image is a tool for us to use to get members. And the public image tools that we have, well, the social media that Claire's spoken about, we can get a great reach. We can reach thousands, tens of thousands of people through social media. It can be a wee bit impersonal, but it's as good a tool as we've got for reaching multiple people. Don't forget, your service projects are also public image tools. Your Ryla, Rota Kids, Interact, all of these sort of things, all of these service projects are all public image tools. They're all things that we should be using to advertise the good work that we do. First of all, Claire showed you the picture of Rota Kids, Kids Out rather. We have to use these, but also we have to take the parents of these kids and use them to create a list of potential contacts, potential members. Printed media is still out there. Some people swear by it, other people say no one reads the local papers anymore. I don't know the truth of that. There are people better qualified than I am. But newspapers, flyers, leaflets, they're always useful to have just to reinforce a conversation that you may have with a member of the public. But the best is always face-to-face. We know, and I go back to a number of years ago when I sat in on an assembly membership session. I can't even remember who was the membership chair at that time, it was so long ago. But in that same session was John Manhinnick. And John had just come off the back, I think, of his year as RIBI president. And they had done some work at that time, and still 95+% of people who join Rotary join because someone asks them to join, because it's face-to-face. But you need to get in front of people. You need to find ways to get out there. Do every gala, every fete, fun run. I mean, the success that Forth Bridges have had in recruitment through the fun run is incredible. I know there are a number of clubs that do vintage car rallies every year. Thousands of people at these things. Car boot sales, pop-up shops, any of your fundraisers, even bag packing. If you're doing bag packing, I don't know how many of your clubs still do it, but get wee leaflets printed. Even do them on the printer at home. And every bag, when you pack it, put a wee leaflet in there, just a wee square leaflet, just saying who's packed their bag and what it's all about. But the best public image tool we have is yourselves. We've got to be out there, we've got to be pushing Rotary as much as we possibly can. So tool number 3 is the call to action. You've heard me talk about this already, but so often we forget to ask. We put this great stuff up on Facebook, or we put some great stuff in the newspaper, and great photographs, and we've spent all the time getting our public image right, and we've spent time crafting a great article saying how great the Rotary Club is, and how important the work that they're doing is, and we've got that awareness, and we've grabbed the interest of people, and we've created a desire, and then we dropped it because we forgot the call to action. We forgot to let them know that actually you can be a part of this as well. Actually, you can be a Rotarian if that's what you want to be. Or better still, why are you not a Rotarian? Why haven't you joined Rotary yet? So the big thing, the big tool in our toolbox, and I think it's something that we've probably lost our way with, and amongst everything else, is just the call to action. Remembering, on top of everything else, we've got to ask folk to get involved. As I said already, most folk don't know that we want new members. We assume that they know. We assume that they know how to go about joining Rotary, and they don't. But those are two major factors. You know, people that certainly I've spoken to, and I've spoken to about Rotary, they went, well, I wouldn't know how to get involved. I wouldn't know how to join. We've got to make sure that we get that information out there. And most people don't really know what Rotary is. Claire showed you the slide of the 2018 survey that was done, when people were asked what Rotary is and all the strange answers that came up. So most people don't know what it is or what we're asking them to join. That's poor public image. If we get our public image on point, then it will help immensely in people understanding what Rotary is as an organisation. We're not a secret society. We're not just a group of men that meet for lunch and sing songs. We are actually a service organisation. We're out there getting involved in our communities and changing people's lives. But we don't seem to want to tell people that. So every time you interact with the public, add a call to action. Now, we've just seen Celia there just now with the business cards. The QR code in the back is a call to action. It gives people another step that they can scan that QR code and find out more information, or, you know, inquire about how to get involved. And I know Allo are very active in their membership, and very good at getting new people in, and we can learn a lot from that. So this call to action has to be, it doesn't have to be a QR code, it can just be a very simple phone this number. Put your phone number in, so you phone this number if you're interested. But make sure on your posters and your flyers, obviously, make them professional, make them eye-catching. It's all about awareness and interest again. And then ask us about Rotary, join Rotary, and the QR code that we've heard about already. Get t-shirts done, not just with your club name. Don't bother sitting there with, you know, Rotary Club or whatever on there. But you've got in my case, a rather large front and a fairly sizable back that we can use to advertise all sorts of things as well. So get that, you know, stomach and back put to some use, and get some advertising on you. And if that's a QR code, great. Get people scanning your belly at events. How good is that? Print media, simply advertise for members. Put something out there saying Rotary needs people to get involved. It actually works. It has been tried, and it does work. And face-to-face, again, back to this, be ready to talk. Get your elevator pitch ready. Have your backup flyers and cards ready, so when you've spoken to someone, you can give them a business card or give them a wee flyer with more information. Get their details from them, add them to your list, and get an action. Get a call to action. Say, can I call you next week and you know, chat a wee bit more about it? Or how about coming along and helping us at such and such an event next weekend. So many people get involved with Rotary gradually like that, and it's something we have to work on. Fundraisers, again, the call to action at a fundraiser. I spoke just a minute ago about flyers when you're bag parking. If you're giving stuff away, put your sticker on it. Make sure there's a sticker there with what it is. We when we go to galas, get a wee round sticker, and all the kids get a Rotary Club sticker. I met Peppa Pig or whatever. Use your collection tins. Make sure your collection tins actually say more than Rotary Club of whatever. Make sure your collection tins actually say the money that we raised from this collection tin is going to go to is going to go to local charities or whatever. But always be using, you know, every opportunity you get to publicise not just the name of your club. It's not about the name of your club, but publicise what your club do and what people's donations are going to do. So always be advertising your club and membership, getting people to join. And be realistic, because it is a numbers game, and people tend to get a wee bit disheartened because they ask a couple of folk and they go, ah, it's not for me, not really interested. Not everybody you ask will get involved. And not everyone that comes along to a meeting will then go ahead and join. It is very much a numbers game. And I've said here, you'll fail more often than you'll succeed. But you've got to keep trying. Again, from a background of sales, we normally worked with, for every 27 leads that we were given, we would from that be able to get 9 appointments with people. From those 9 appointments, we might get 3 opportunities to actually try and sell something. And out of that, we'd get 1 sale. So it was a numbers game. We knew for every 27 appointments that we were given, we would get 1 sale from that. So it is a numbers game. We can improve our odds, we can improve our product, and we can often improve our product a great deal. You have got to be prepared to change. We'll go back to our first session this morning, the 10 tips for growing your club. Be prepared to change. You've got to be prepared to change your club to suit potential members, not just to suit existing ones. Now, obviously, our existing members are important, and you know, we're not trying to alienate them in the slightest, but there has to be some flexibility there around new members and what new members need and want from Rotary. And also to improve your odds, improve your public image. We can all do it, and there's a lot of very good public image out there from a lot of clubs, but we can all improve them. So the product, is it fit for purpose? And really to determine that, we've got to ask, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of our product? Providing fellowship and friendship, providing opportunities to better yourself, giving meaningful service to communities at home and abroad. But also the purpose of the club is to recruit new Rotarians so that we can continue to provide all of those things. If we can't get new people in the door, then our service is going to suffer from that. But you can only do those, the last of those, if the first 3 are working properly. So if you're able to if your product, if your club is out there providing that meaningful service to communities, if your public image is showing how good the work that you're doing in your community is, that you're providing opportunities for people, you're giving new members when they come in the chance to take a lead on a project and to bring their own ideas to the table. If you can do all of that, then you will continue to recruit and recruit positively. So, looking at, is your club fit for purpose? Ask yourself these questions. Would your son or your daughter join your club? If not, then why? And ask them. I mean, genuinely, go and ask them and say, you know, why wouldn't you want to join? What would be your reasons for not getting involved? Would a 30-year-old version of yourself join your club? And if not, why? Think about what you were doing at 30, what your life was like at that time. Would you join your club as it is just now? Are we more interested in meals and meetings than we are in service? That, I think, is a big one, and very much the way that Rotary is moving is away from this model of meals and meetings and speakers and more towards project driven. And I think that's something we'll see more and more in the future. Are the other groups in your area gaining new members? Are the community councils getting new people? Are the environmental groups recruiting people? There will be in your area a number of cause-based charities, maybe autism or something like that. Are those people getting the volunteers that they need? And if they are, what is it you're missing? What is it in your club that's not attracting the people in the same way as these other community groups? And just to go back, and this, I'm afraid, is something that is as true today as it was 5 or 6 years ago when Ken McLennan started to say it. Is your club active and attractive? In all ways, is your club active and attractive? It is the most important thing. We have to ask for feedback. If you, for instance, and we had my own club invited someone to a meeting recently, a friend of one of the members, with a hope that they would join. And after a couple of days after the meeting, they were asked if they would like to join, and they said no, wouldn't be interested. And we asked for their feedback. We asked them to tell us why they didn't want to join. Unfortunately, I think what we'd done is we'd invited them along to the wrong meeting. We invited them to the club assembly, which is a far more formal meeting than the majority of our meetings are. So it maybe didn't give the best reflection of what we are as a club. But ask for feedback. Someone says no, what is it about Rotary that you're not interested in? Find out what people think of Rotary in your area. Ask what projects that you do that people are aware of. Because if they're not aware of anything that you do, again, your public image isn't doing its job. Ask why people have never considered joining Rotary. Ask, ask, ask. Constantly be asking. And then when you get the answers, act on them. Don't just ignore them. Don't think, oh, well, they're wrong and I'm right. Act on the answers you get. So, in summary, we have to have a membership plan of some sort. Part of that plan is to get your public image right. Give it a real push. Give some thought to what you're putting out there every week. Get all of your public image channels working for you. Don't miss an opportunity. Remember, public image is useless without the call to action. And I think we could, for instance, today, we've learned a lot from the way Alloa are doing things. I think they've got a great setup there, and we probably do well to find out more about it. Remember as well that it's a numbers game. You will get knockbacks, but the more people you ask, the more members you will get. Increase your odds of getting these people by improving your product, improving your public image. Constantly be assessing your club. Use outsiders. Don't use echo chambers. Don't ask other Rotarians, even Rotarians from other clubs. Don't ask them. Find out what the public think. Rotarians are already members. It's people who are not members that we need to hear from. But always be asking for feedback, ask for opinions, asking for ways to improve, and ask how to engage more effectively. And finally, ask for new members. So that's really the summary of the membership plan. We move on now finally to member retention. And quite stunning fact, if we could retain just 25% of the people that we lose every year, then our membership would actually be going up. We would actually be last year, I think we lost 118 net over the year. But I think, you know, had we retained 25% of the people who actually left Rotary, it would have reversed that. We would have been in the positive. So that's really the effect that this can have. It's huge, but we don't perhaps give as much thought to it as we do about recruiting new people. If we put as much effort into retaining the ones we had, it might be a bit different. I want to bust a couple of myths while we're here as well. I recently looked at the 5-year figures for membership and membership retention and membership loss. And actually, our biggest losses, percentage-wise, are not in the over 70s. We have a slight drop in the number of over 70s, but actually not that many. So we're not losing people passing to higher service necessarily, although we do still lose some. We're losing the majority of the people who are between 50 and 60. 50 and 60 are the biggest percentage loss. It was something like 23%, I think, of all our losses were in that age group. So let's think about possibly why that is. We need to look at that in a wee bit more depth. And this was a survey, again, a Rotary International survey, and it's basically maintaining members' interest, which is the same as keeping them as members. And this is what Rotary identified as 5 significant things that help maintain members and keep them engaged for the long term, as they say. And that is making sure that their introduction to Rotary and their mentoring that we spoke about earlier and orientation and whatnot is a positive, valuable and engaging process, and that it sets the right expectations. Again, we're back to expectations. Is your club, the product in your club, meeting the expectations of people who when they come into it? Involvement in Rotary is the next one, and we've got to provide local and international service activities. Most people last year who stayed in Rotary, 42 or 45% of the people who stayed in Rotary last year stayed because they wanted to continue to give service. That was the main reason for staying. So the involvement in Rotary, it's important that we provide opportunities for service for new members and existing members, as well as personal development. The club environment. Club environment is the next one. And again, a welcoming environment, diversity here again, transparency. I mean, I think it's important, for instance, that one of the first things you do is get your new members along to a council meeting to show them that there's nothing going on there that's, you know, getting decisions made behind people's backs. It's all transparency. Innovation, flexibility and adaptability. Be prepared to change. The overall membership experience, again, I think covers all of these things, but it's about clubs again being adaptable and changing to suit existing members whilst keeping changing to help new members while keeping existing members happy as well. And then paths to expand our reach, creating new channels into Rotary to overcome the barriers that we've spoken about, offering new opportunities to young leaders, Rotary alumni. Guess this is again is our list of potential members, but it's all about expanding our reach. So these were the main reasons or the main ways that Rotary identified to help us maintain members within clubs. There's the member retention thing. In 2020, 42% of people stayed to serve their community. So really, our clubs and our members are the key to retaining our membership. It's the club programme, it's the club activities that people are staying for. But if you look on the flip side of that, a significant number of those who left did it possibly because their club didn't offer them the service opportunities that they wanted, or they'd maybe failed to find any friendship in the club. So it's about meeting the expectations of their members. Because I'm fairly certain that every club does do something community-wise. So just think about that. You know, 42% of people stayed to serve their community, about what they were doing on their own doorstep. So what can I say? Recruitment and retention are the same thing. People join Rotary for the same reasons that they stay in Rotary. If we're active and attractive, then people will join. But if we're active and attractive, then hopefully people will also stay. So, summary on this part again, we've got to make membership our club's #1 priority. Use the 10 tips for growing your club. Identify any barriers to membership and try as much as possible to overcome them. When you're getting involved with your public image, remember AIDA. Get the attention, get the interest, create a desire, and then ask for action, ask for some action. Work on your public image. It really is, Jane, I can't stress this enough, it's the key to getting new members. You actually, if your public image is right and your programme, the public image has got to be right and the programme behind it has got to be right. If those are right, you will have people asking to join. You won't have to ask people, they will ask you. Create your full membership plan, use the 5 Ps. Always be asking people why they are not Rotarians. Get their feedback, act on it, circular, back round again, ask again once you've changed. So that concludes where we are. I'll stop the sharing. We're about 20 to 12. Happy if we want to have any chats for the next wee while or any questions.
So Jim Hatter's got, several people now popping their hands up. So Jim Hatter's first.
I just want to say, very good, Alistair. Thank you for all that. But a word of warning to all clubs. If you are organizing a situation, you must tell people that photos will be taken. That is in not only GDPR, but that's in line with copyright and the law. You must inform them that photos will be taken, particularly if kids are involved, and you must seek permission from the parents, because you have to utilize the photographs as you explain to the people. Otherwise, you can be in trouble. Thank you.
Thanks. And then Philip, I think is next.
A fantastic presentation. Thank you. I think one of my key things is diversity, equitability, and inclusivity. And sometimes Rotary is its own worst enemy, and particularly on inclusivity. For example, if you want to give more service at the district level and be district governor, for example, Ken, you have to give it an awful lot of time, and that actually is excluding people maybe who are younger, who are still working with families and can't give it the time. So there's that we have to address inclusivity in some of our procedures and our organizations and mechanisms within district and GBI. I think my biggest bugbear, though, is the manual of operating procedure explicitly forbids you having dual membership. And I can't believe that that is still in there. If I am in a local area, we are very fortunate to have 2 clubs in the same local area here, but we've got clubs in adjacent towns. If I want to help in multiple Rotary clubs as a Rotarian, I'm forbidden by the rules of Rotary. I can be a friend, but I can't actually join the club. I could go along, but it's not the same thing. And I think, although, and I see lots of people like Kath shaking my head saying it's forbidden. It's not forbidden. I could go along and help, absolutely. But the Manual of Operating Procedure actually forbids dual membership. And there is no mechanism to be recognised by Rotary as being in 2 clubs. And I think it's not a question of saying, well, just go and do it. I think it's a question of the mechanism and the procedures allowing that and promoting it.
Kath, you can answer that one.
If it's okay, I'll speak about GDPR first, since I said I would do that. Just about lists and so on. There is a line to be drawn between some of the ways we might have information on people who are possible members. So that, for example, I might have met somebody and I have it, let's say in the doctor's surgery, I met a nurse and I have it in mind to invite that person along and I proceed to do that. There's no problem with GDPR. But if we actually systematically form a list of people and we hold that in whatever way we hold it, then there is an issue unless the people have specifically given their permission to be on that list. And one way that might happen is the illustration that Alistair gave, where you're out and about in the community, I think at fairs and local galas and so on, and people come to your stall and they show interest and you ask them to give you a note of their interest. And if you do that and they explicitly say they may be contacted, then that is fine. The second thing to say is that, you know, for example, they haven't come to your market stall, they've entered the duck race that you hold. Then you write to them inviting them to membership. That in fact is, we are going against GDPR if we do that. I don't have any particular feelings about GDPR, except that I got involved with a club towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year, where we might have been using somebody's information incorrectly. And that involved me writing to the Information Commissioner, spent an awful lot of time. Philip, as a district secretary, you're also busy, so spent an awful lot of time writing about that. So I would counsel you to try and follow these procedures. Nothing will happen until somebody complains. That you know, it's like a lot of things, 99% of the time it's fine, but 1% it's not. And we don't know which is the 1%, so we need to follow the procedures. Photographs, Jim Hatter has covered that quite nicely, except to say that there's another step after we've told people we're taking photographs, that's the opt-out session. So that, for example, if you're holding well, it doesn't matter what sort of event, then you need to either tell people and give them the opportunity to opt out, or what is an easier way is to have a display that says we intend to take photographs. If you don't want your photograph taken, see one of the stewards in a high-vis vest or something like that. Because photography, as Jim says, is part of GDPR, also copyright. So if you've got a big event, then it might be that you have some way of showing people who don't want the photograph taken. Maybe it's a wristband that works well in Kids Out. Moving on to Kids Out, I think there's two things here. There's one about the photographs, and that's the same as everything else. We need permission from the school. They usually have permission, but also there's the bit about being discreet in the way that we take photographs of people who are, or the young people who are attending Kids Out. So we need to take that with discretion, so that we don't overtake photographs. Alistair's question on, sorry, not Alistair, Philip's question on the dual membership and so on. The manual of procedure doesn't actually apply in Rotary GBNI. Everything that applies is contained in the Constitution, but the Constitution says you can't be a member of two clubs. The thing is, Philip, it doesn't stop you working with other clubs. Why would you want to be a member of two clubs? Because you'd be paying two subscriptions. And what they're doing is trying to, what RI is doing is trying to find out the actual number of people. I mean, I would hope that we'd be able to have people who are able to work with every club, because as a Rotarian, you can go to any club you want. I suspect that isn't going to make you happy. The next step will be to raise something at the council.
I don't really disagree with anything that you've said. I think it's more to do with the inclusivity part of it. It's more to do with the system is set up to make it hard. Yes, you could go to another club and persuade them that you could be an honorary member. I don't think many clubs use honorary memberships that way. Yes, you could go along and work with another club, but I feel it's just that if you had multi-membership, it would really facilitate that idea that you're a Rotarian just working wherever, and you could vote in another club if you happen to be welcome in another club that way. On subscription, you'd only pay one subscription to RI. You'd have to pay for the membership of that club. I'm in organisations where that works really well for other kinds of activities. And I'm not precluded from joining things like Rotary Action Groups. I'm a member of the Environmental and Sustainability Rotary Action Group. It was more a point about inclusivity, and we have to think and see where it is hiding that's a barrier. And it's not just, I mean, this is a particular bugbear, and I spoke to Barry Rassin about it a year or so back, and he said, primarily it's, as you said, Kath, that it's about counting people and that computers can't do it, and that they are trying to change, but I'd have to wait 10 years, and I thought that's just too long. However, my point wasn't that, well, it is about the fact that it's forbidden or not easy to do, but it's about actually pushing diversity, equitability and inclusivity is really, really hard. I've seen things in the chat about terminology, and I think we have to be very careful to give a consistent message. And this is just such a big area of concern. Anyway,
Point taken, Philip.
And I'm conscious of where we are with time. So, Kevin.
Hi, Alistair. Thanks for that. Kath, you made a comment that you didn't have no feelings about GDPR. We've kind of avoided GDPR issues when it comes to events just by putting a paragraph at the top of any list we have, which says this is what the data is going to be used for, and it will be disposed of within 30 days. So you've got a short timeline in which to actually use that data, and the person has granted consent. That's how we get around it. But my real concern, coming back to the whole presentation about membership, I'm glad to see, Alistair, that we've moved away from the idea that the way to get membership is about setting up new clubs and this hub that was previously talked about. But as the presentation shows, this is talking all about what the club can do. I want to know what district are doing, because if we have such a bad image and that people are seeing us as old men collecting tins, having lunch, things like that, why is that not coming from a higher level to try and dispel that? When you did your tour of talks of the clubs a year or so ago now, we talked about having a budget for TV, radio, national press, advertising. Where has that gone, and what's happening at a higher level than the clubs, rather than forcing it all down to the club level again?
So, Alistair, are you going to pick that one?
There are a few instances there, a few bits there that need to pick up on. I think, Kieran, that there is a place certainly for district to do stuff nationally. However, I have been criticised in the past for tarring everyone with the same brush, and then I'm told that our club doesn't do that, and our club doesn't need this, and our club doesn't do that, and we don't need any, and so it becomes very difficult. And a lot of the money that district had sitting there was decided that would be better given to the clubs in the way of grants to allow them to do their own thing, because there was no consensus of opinion between clubs of what actually was needed.
Sure.
So it's difficult. We have 89, I think, or 90 autonomous clubs in this district. They are all in charge of their own destiny at the end of the day. And the one thing I will kind of come back on again is the fact that our emphasis on new clubs has not changed.
No.
We still are 100% committed to the formation of new clubs in whatever areas can sustain them, Kevin. So although today's thing is all about generating a swelling membership within our existing clubs, that has to be allied to the creation of new clubs.
So thanks for that. I'm going to pick that one up. Our district plan's got 3 strands, and 2 of them have been covered today, which is grow members and keep members, and obviously with the public image in that. And there is a 3rd strand of we will be forming new clubs, and just the sheer statistics tell us that's the only way Rotary is going to sustain in the long term. And in terms of nationally, that is a discussion that's on the table, and it's on the next board agenda, I believe, and I'll hear more about that just in the next 3 weeks. So that's certainly being talked about. The big thing, of course, are members prepared to increase their subscriptions to pay for it, because it's not free. But it's on the board, and perhaps we can squeeze something out of RI from the top down rather than from the district or whatever. No one else has got their hand up, so I'm really conscious of time, and people are starting to drop off and got things at 12 o'clock. Alistair started this by saying, and it wasn't, I'm going to paraphrase, membership made easy. Well, the sharing and the understanding is the easy bit. I guess the hard bit's now over to clubs and actually doing it. He's covered various things, covered the revolving door, where, and I think another statistic in there is half of new members leave within 3 years because their experience is not what we put on the tin. So we need to make sure that what's on the tin is what we're actually offering people. And Alistair's talked lots of things in there. And this really follows on nicely from the public image presentation and discussion that went on Monday. And you've heard so much about how the 2, public image and membership, just go hand in hand. So thanks to Dave Hoskins for doing that on Monday, and thanks to Alistair today. He talked about the elevator's pitch. When you get me on my own, ask me my elevator pitch, and I'll ask you what yours is, and I'm quite happy to share mine. And he talked about 10 tips, nice and easy, 5 Ps, and ADA, which is not the musical or whatever. Everything's interlinked, but the big thing is 90% of people don't actually ask anyone to come along to a meeting or come along to help or to come along to anything. Never mind asking to join. They haven't even asked them if they're interested in the first place. So everything's back, and the opportunity is with you in the clubs to do that. And district and higher will actually be looking at, and are actually looking at, what they can do to help and what can be done sensibly and within the fees that are available. So we will be sharing the presentation. We will be downloading the chat and making it available. Alistair and Claire, thank you for what's been a huge effort. And thank you for taking the time and actually spending 2 hours this morning. But most of all, thanks to everyone here for coming along. It's an important topic, and I look forward to catching up with everybody soon. So thanks very much, everybody. Thank you.